In this week's Cyberpunk 2077 news, one of the main talking points was a case of alleged corpo headhunting by Blizzard Entertainment on CD Projekt Red. Sebastian Stempien's LinkedIn profile changed, indicating that the CD Projekt Red developer, who worked on all three Witcher games before becoming a creative director on Cyberpunk 2077, left CD Projekt Red for a new role at Blizzard Entertainment this month. So, who is Sebastian Stempien? Sebastian first began his career at CD Projekt Red as a junior dialogue writer in August of 2006. He was promoted to story designer in January 2010, before being promoted again to creative director for Cyberpunk 2077 in February 2013. He then picked up an additional role as narrative and setting director in July of 2016. Sebastian was part of a trio of creative directors on The Witcher 3, also including Konrad Tomaszkiewicz and Mateusz Kanik. Several commentators construed this departure as bad news for Cyberpunk 2077, perhaps to sensationalize the topics of their articles, but I have seen no evidence to support this conjecture. A cynical interpretation of the departure was that Cyberpunk 2077's development has been arduous and Sebastian is simply another casualty. And yet, this time last month, the Cyberpunk 2077 Associate Design Director, Kyle Rowley, left to return to his former employer, Remedy Games. This departure did not receive as much publicity, possibly because Blizzard Entertainment were not involved. Many commentators also suggest the departure is an indication that Cyberpunk 2077 is close to being finished. While it would certainly be nice if this was the case, once again this is nothing more than conjecture, as there are currently no publicly available details on the current status of Cyberpunk 2077, aside from its coming when it's ready. It should also be noted that CD Projekt Red are hiring for various positions directly related to Cyberpunk 2077. For instance, Holly Bennett became the UK Head of Communication last week, and jobs being advertised by CD Projekt Red include AI programmers, gameplay programmers, graphics programmers, quest designers, user interface designers, environment and character artists, and so on. For me, this would indicate that Cyberpunk 2077 is very much a work in progress. My own personal take on the departure is that people come and go. That's just the nature of life. Some want a new challenge or a change of scenery. From what I know, working at CD Projekt Red is definitely cool, but Poland is not for everyone. For example, if you want to have a family, you may prefer to bring up your children in the USA. Likewise, while the compensation package is good for Poland relative to the cost of living there, it's substantially lower than that offered in the USA. I strongly suspect Blizzard Entertainment offered Sebastian a significantly larger compensation package compared to what he was receiving at CD Projekt Red. Usually departures are often associated with monetary issues. Previously, former CD Projekt Red employee Ryan Purgent, who was a senior designer on Cyberpunk 2077, left because he felt he was not being paid enough. He stated on his blog that he left CD Projekt Red on the best possible terms and wholeheartedly recommends the company, despite several news outlets trying to suggest otherwise and twist his words. He also acknowledged 6 months after he had left, almost everyone received the €3,000 salary increase he had wanted. The crux of the matter is that there are a myriad of personal and professional reasons which we are not privy to as to why someone would want to leave CD Projekt Red, and these may not necessarily have any relation to the Cyberpunk 2077 game. People leave companies on their own terms all the time. Furthermore, Sebastian spent close to 13 years at CD Projekt Red. To put that length of time into context, the average marriage in the UK lasts only 11 years. Depending upon which statistics you refer to. So to commit yourself for 13 years to a company is actually quite an impressive feat in this day and age. While Sebastian's departure has led to speculation of a new game from Blizzard, I have to disclose I have no interest in Blizzard Entertainment games at all. I think the last time I played a game from Blizzard Entertainment was StarCraft in 1998 or 1999, so I will not address any speculation on future Blizzard games here. On the topic of possible locations aside from Night City, Mike Pondsmith commented that it depends a lot on what happened during the collapse. Some places were flooded, others were hit with plagues, while many were just abandoned and only a few people hang out there, or the area might be overrun by booster gangs. In Cyberpunk Red, many people are starting to recolonize the abandoned cities. Having Night City's corporate center nuked provided people with an incentive to look for other glow-in-the-dark living options, although millions still live in Night City. In other Cyberpunk 2077 news, rather amusingly, many commentators are still reporting on the interview by French publication Jeux Actu had with Maciej Pietras, although this week their focus was on Cyberpunk 2077 weapons, such as smart guns and katanas. Maciej explains, you will have the choice between technological, powerful and intelligent weapons, and each of them will allow you to approach the game in several different ways. Powerful weapons have a boost that allows weapons to ricochet against the walls and thus reach enemies hidden behind walls. Smart weapons take advantage of an auto-lock that can target an enemy with homing bullets. As for melee weapons, you could see the mantis blades in the Cyberpunk 2077 demo. There is also the katana that was not shown in the demo but is interesting. I don't know about you, Chumba, but none of this is new information and makes one wonder if journalists or commentators actually watched the publicly released Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay demo. Nevertheless, for the sake of completeness, you now know there is no new information on weapons, despite what others may be reporting this week. Reddit user Pizza on Pineapple finished building his Cyberpunk 2077 inspired computer. CD Projekt Red answered several questions this week, rather like an FAQ, covering both new and old topics, which might be of interest. Jackie Willis will not be customizable. Similar to The Witcher, if the story calls for it, V will have a companion or two for a mission. It can also be dependent on the choices V makes. If you leave someone behind and it makes sense for the story for them to stay behind, CD Projekt Red will allow it, and another time the companion might catch up. All music for Cyberpunk 2077 will be composed and produced internally by CD Projekt Red under the guidance of Marcin Przybłowicz, Cyberpunk 2077 lead composer and music director. Marcin Momot, community lead at CD Projekt Red, commented that looking at many of the songs Cyberpunk fans are suggesting, he has a feeling a lot of folks will be really surprised with the general music direction CD Projekt Red are taking with Cyberpunk 2077. Marcin explained, music will obviously match the theme and complement the Cyberpunk world just right. However, I don't think many are expecting where Cyberpunk 2077 will be going. A few people have asked about the lights on the collar of V's samurai jacket and what purpose they may serve. While it was not confirmed specifically, there was a suggestion it may offer a certain degree of protection to the wearer from being hacked wirelessly. There are currently no legitimate pre-orders for Cyberpunk 2077 available. Everything currently seen on the internet or in stores are nothing more than placeholders by various companies aiming to stimulate interest. Netrunning will allow the player to assassinate people and control devices by remote. Many of the HUD elements, such as damage numbers seen above characters' heads, will be optional. Currently, the Cyberpunk 2077 team are not sure if there will be minigames similar to Gwent from Witcher 3, but CD Projekt Red did confirm that there will be activities for V. In the game, V will be able to work for various factions, but it won't be possible to join them. CD Projekt Red are not planning to introduce any reputation indicators for factions. Reputation will be measured by a general street cred, reflecting how V is seen by the street. You'll be able to increase it through side missions, and it will allow you to unlock access to additional content, such as new shops or new missions. Players can look at their own feet and body, but currently they cannot go prone. Enemies will continue to fight when wounded or when limbs are dismembered. On the topic of skills and stats, attributes such as strength and reflexes can be raised by leveling up and installing body cyberware. Skills can be raised by successfully performing actions such as hacking, crafting, or using shotguns. Perks are unlocked with both street cred and XP. Fans often ask if they can play Cyberpunk 2077 without implants. Some implants will be required, or you will have the option to choose between X, Y, and Z in order to progress, but most are optional. The player also cannot harvest body implants from dead enemies. CD Projekt Red were asked whether or not there will be multiple ways to fire, like a setting to not look down the gun sight and just see the reticule. In response, community lead Marcin Momot replied various augmentations will be able to improve firing from the hip, so it will be viable to use both ways of shooting. Sight, however, can also provide some additional bonuses. Cyberpunk 2077 won't feature predetermined classes and will instead feature an open skill system more akin to that of Skyrim. As such, players will be able to create their own personal class through their skill choices as they level up. Last but not least, the Cyberpunk 2077 Twitter account made another "when it's ready" joke in response to Assassin's Creed.